Folks, this is Wild Bill here in Studio B, and I am wanting to deliver to you a grain of salt. But before I do, I just want to thank you for all of you who are doing something to help with the situation that's up north in western North Carolina and Tennessee, the eastern Tennessee, and I noticed that it's possible that it got on up in there to Virginia and West Virginia and even a parts of North Georgia. And I know there's places even in South Georgia that got a pretty good amount of wind. And other places, I mean, trees down, everything. But thank you for what you're doing, and thank you for being obedient. And continue to pray for the families up there. Pray for those that have lost people. And pray for the relief effort, the rescue effort, and that we continue to believe that the glory of God will be shown in all things. And so anyway, now to the grain of salt. We will continue to just absolutely pound on false teachers and false prophets who are lying to the people out there, those that belong to our Father, that have been called from before the foundation of the world. And so, without further ado, just want to continue where I left off, and I've been talking about how dangerous they are and why they're dangerous. And Matthew 7:15 is the main scripture text, but Jesus said, beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravenous wolves. And so we know we need to beware. And when somebody says beware, if you see a sign that says beware, what do you think that sign means? You better be on your toes, right? Something dangerous is there. And so when the Messiah, the creator of everything, for by him all things were created, right? When he says beware, and it's a command, you better beware. Something dangerous. And he tells us what to beware of: false prophets and false teachers. And so another thing that shows that they're dangerous is the deception that is a part of who they are. And, he said they come to you in sheep's clothing. Now, in the Old Testament, the prophet, the true prophet, would come to the people, and he wore a rough garment. I mean, it was typically camel's hair or sackcloth. It was definitely showing that he was not interested in creature comforts at all. All he had on his mind was the commission and the message. He was commissioned by God and sent by God with the message of God. And they knew he was prophet when he was coming down the road wearing that rough garment. Creature comforts were not a thing for him. Sounds a lot different from today's prophet. But anyway, it showed that they had given up creature comforts and that they had one purpose. They had one thing on their mind, is getting the job done that they were commissioned to. And, and so we see that the false prophet in the Old Testament, according to Zechariah 13:4, if all you had to do to pretend to be a prophet was get you a prophet's costume, they would come dressed in a rough garment in order to deceive. Check it out. Look it up. And so Jesus is saying in the New Testament that it's no different. See, it's the same message throughout all the Scripture. The same message. It's the same message about everything. And the false prophet and the prophet is no different. So in the New Testament, he said the true shepherd would be wearing a cloak made out of sheep's wool. It was sheep's clothing. And it showed that they were a shepherd. Well, he said that the false shepherd, false prophet, will come dressed like a true shepherd. Sounds simple, right? But people miss that. And, it's not the heretical or the apostate false prophets that are hard to delineate or distinguish, I should say, out here. The heretical is absolutely, you can tell, they're twisting the scriptures. They're twisting the hound out of them. And the apostate false prophets, they totally deny the scriptures. They say it's not true. It's the ones that are difficult to notice. These are the deceivers. These are the ones that are looking like true shepherds, and you can't tell the difference by just the looks, and oftentimes even some things that they say. But at any rate, they come looking and sounding and acting like true shepherds. They sound like they're teaching the gospel. They're pleasant. They appear to be Christian. They even have some proper terminology. They have learned Bible-y talk. they sound like they know the Bible. They sound like Orthodox preachers. They've got the words down. And Jude verse 4, I think it is, says that they creep in unnoticed. You don't even notice. And it says that they are among us. 2 Corinthians 11 says Satan appears as an angel of light. And he says, don't be surprised, basically, when his ministers appear as angels of light. And so sometimes, though, it's not what they say, sometimes, but it's what they never say. They never talk about sin. They never talk about humility. You'll never see a false prophet, talking about their humility unless they're bragging about it. Like I was telling you about my humble button that I sometimes wear. I don't really have one. I don't. But they don't never talk about judgment. They never talk about suffering, the sufferings of Christ. They never talk about counting the cost. They never talk about the things that really is the mark of the believer that is mentioned in the scriptures. They never talk about hungering and thirsting after righteousness. They talk more about hungering and thirsting for the riches of this life, the lust of your flesh. That's how they allure you. And so take all that with a grain of salt. I could be wrong. You check into it. Hey, be good and do good.